Right. Top of the morning, Vista Murrieta High School. I am incredibly proud and honored to be here with you guys today to have a conversation with our panel about their experiences with regard to our topic this year for community service, which is food insecurity. Everyone has a story. Everyone has something that has gone on in their lives that has shaped who they are and what they want to contribute to our community and ultimately to you guys in the classroom, in the field, in our community. And so I just want to let you know how proud I am of you. This is not just a one and done type community service project. In the past, our community service projects have been, early in the year and kind of one and done. But we wanted this to be something that kind of is organic and it grows roots and it just becomes part of who we are and what we do at Vista. Mrs. Parsons mentioned that the last S in class is service. And so we want to make sure that that continues to grow as we have generations of Broncos come through our blue gates. I'm incredibly proud of you and what you can contribute, your insights and what you'll learn today. Feel free to ask questions when you have an opportunity, and then take this beyond yourself and what's possible. Again, I'm incredibly proud of you. I want to thank our panel members, our students, our community members, and our staff for contributing to what we're doing here. Go Broncos.
Good afternoon, Broncos. I'm Leah.
I'm Brady.
And I'm Ariana. Thank you for participating in this year's school-wide service project, Leveling Up Impact Through Service.
Again, we'd like to remind you that we will be going over a sensitive topic. Please treat this project with dignity and respect.
Food insecurity is a silent problem for many. Some impacted may even be in classes with you right now.
We'd like to shed a light on this topic by sitting down with guests who have been impacted by food insecurity in their own personal experiences.
Without further ado, let us introduce our panelists, starting with VMHS teachers, Mr. Hyde, Mr. Files, and Ms. Reed.
Additionally, the Director of Nutrition Services, Ms. Jill Lancaster.
And the co-coordinator of the Murrieta United Methodist Church Food Pantry, Mrs. Hanlon. For all our panelists here today, please introduce yourself and speak upon what does food insecurity mean to you personally or professionally, and how has it shaped your perspective on our community?
Well, hello everybody, I'm Coach Files. Nice to see everybody. Food insecurity is a really important topic. It's something that impacts so many people, and when you have to live with insecurity, what it means for me is that it impacts every single facet of your life daily, from getting up in the morning to going to bed to playing in athletics to going to school and being able to focus on the task at hand and get your work done. When you have food insecurity, all of those things become secondary, and the first and most important thing in your mind all the time is getting food.
Hi, I'm Debbie Hanlon. I am with the Murrieta United Methodist Church Food Bank, and as a retired high school teacher, I saw a lot of food insecurity where I worked, but also at the food bank where I am now volunteering. To me, it is a lack of sufficient nutritious food that allows for students especially to learn. The brain food, that when you don't have food, it's hard to focus and it's hard to do what you need to do to be successful. So I've been doing this for 4 years in the community, and I've seen a lot of change where there's been more and more individuals and families that are lacking the food that they need to be successful.
Hi everybody, I'm Jill Lancaster. I'm the Director of Nutrition Services for the districts. I'm like the head lunch lady, okay? And food insecurity to me really is that we have a community that doesn't have access, or for a family that doesn't have access to highly nutritious food in order to live an active lifestyle. Professionally, as a child nutrition director, that translates into distraction for you guys, right? If you're hungry, or if you're worried about where your next meal is coming from, you're distracted from your learning, you're distracted from your athletics. If you're not getting enough nutrition, you're not performing in your athletics or in your extracurriculars like you should. So for me, it just means distraction. It means that we're failing if we're not providing those services to you.
Hello, excuse me, I'm Mr. Hyde, Coach Hyde to some of you. The face of insecurity is not what you think it is. If you look at me, you're going, I don't think he's got any food insecurities right now. But trust me, growing up, when you're concerned with what you're going to eat or if you're going to eat, it can affect everything you do from school to your life. I kind of don't even want to think about stuff because I'm in a different place now. But when you're going through it, and for those of you that are going through it or have gone through it, it affects you, and it affects me to this day. As any of my students know, I'm a soft touch for a snack in my class because I can't take a hungry child, because I was one of those. And if it wasn't for the grace of others, you know what? It's not what you think it looks like. It could be anyone at any time. Don't be afraid to reach out and help somebody. Don't be afraid to be involved in service, please. People count on it, and you don't even realize how many people do.
Hi, I'm Siri Reed. I'm a teacher here as well. Maybe this was a bad seat to sit in because you guys already said all the good answers. But I guess I would say, like, personally, growing up with food insecurity, it just sort of meant that sometimes you had to either go without, or you had to choose, deodorant over lunch, or toiletries or things like that. For professionally, I would say that how it impacts me is that I just have a lot of empathy. Like Mr. Hyde, probably if I could see any of you out there, it's all black, so I can't. But a lot of you have probably eaten my snacks and know that coming up to my office, I always have food to share. And so professionally, I just am really try to be really aware of the fact that I know if you're thinking about where you're going to get your next meal, you're definitely not thinking about your English essay or the assignments that you have to turn in.
Panelists, can we make sure that we're holding the microphone up towards our mouths? Everyone in the classroom wants to be able to hear you, and they can't quite hear you. You'll hear our audio tech group is kind of working, trying to get the microphones up and working a little bit more. But, wow. Hold on. Yeah, what happened with the lights? That's really funny. But yeah, they're working on it. They're really trying really hard back there. Thank you.
Thank you to our panel. For those of you who lived with the experiences, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced when accessing nutritious food, and what forms of support made the biggest difference?
I think growing up, similar to Coach Hyde, where you don't know where your next meal is, the first place, especially when I was younger, that I got food was school. And so you get to school, and that's what you're thinking about, from the breakfast lunch line to break to, lunch, and then even knew I was going to get food was at school. And I would take it, and I would bring plastic bags, and I would take extra food. And, some years ago, you got to know the lunch ladies because it was a different type of environment, and they would give you extra food to take home because they knew, if you're on the free and reduced lunch plan, which is what they called back then, you were probably not eating at home. So you would take plastic bags home with you, so you would have food, and you'd wake up hungry and wonder where your next meal on the weekends was going to come from. And it becomes all consuming. But my number one resource growing up was school.
there's a stigma to it. You guys do a marvelous job of embracing everyone. Everybody is not seen in that fashion. I wanted to mention that because what he just said reminded me of my godmother was on my campus as a lunch lady, and she knew the struggle we were in, and she would always make sure I had, and always make sure I had something at school, and I always made sure I had something to go home, because that was important at the time. We knew the struggle was real, and again, as I think about it, you do a marvelous job of taking care of each other, as does our staff and people on campus. And again, please continue and please be proud of that. It's marvelous.
Okay, I would say one of the biggest challenges that I remember is just the feeling of being embarrassed and just not wanting to ask for help.
Thank you for sharing.
So for those like Ms. Lancaster and Ms. Hanlon who are working in fields that assist in food insecurity, what would you guys say are some common misconceptions that people have about food insecurity, and what are things that people often get wrong about it?
So, one of the things that I think people don't realize is who is food insecure. People may not, you can't, they don't wear a label that says, I'm of becoming. I don't think of myself as a professional in this. I'm a volunteer at a food bank, but I do work with a lot of people. And I think it's so important that we don't label people, you're dirty, you home.
I think there's a lot of things in this realm. The access piece. I've been here in Murrieta for about 20 years now, but before that I spent 10 years in a school district in LA County in a very socioeconomically challenged community. And I can tell you that every community has this problem. It's not isolated to nothing? There we go. So it's not isolated to just socioeconomically challenged. It's here. It's your neighbor. I think there's 13.5% of families are food insecure. So count over 10 people, one of you in this top front row is probably considered food insecure. So it's your neighbors, it's your community. It's not isolated.
Going back to the whole panel, as Mr. Hyde and Mr. Files were saying about the change in stigma, how has food insecurity in our community changed in recent years, especially after events like the pandemic or rise of cost in living?
I'll go ahead and start. I think coming out of COVID, I think is a big important factor, and I think and socioeconomic factors outside, it has affected our community in many ways that you don't understand or can't see, because these students or teachers even who are on based on my experience, but this post-COVID relationship at school, a lot of these students are dependent on the food that they get here, even though they'll never tell you or they'll never say it. So whatever socioeconomic factors, the rise or the increase in the need has grown in the last 5 years.
The thought of pile green beans and things in the cupboard because I want to have them. She's like, there's 2 of us now. You don't need 8 cases of green beans, but in my mind I do. And then COVID hit. And I remember going to this Target right here in my gloves and my mask and foraging for food and seeing empty shelves. And I was like, holy mackerel, we're here again. And being able to get a jar of sauce or something was a big win. Think about that as that's your life every day. I just hit a big win because I got something to eat. Since COVID stuff is hugely expensive, it's not always readily available. But again, eliminating the stigma for hungry people just needs to happen. It just does.
When I retired, I became a volunteer at a food bank. And so in 22, I wrote my first grant to the LDS church to get $12,000 that we could use for food. And I wrote it when we only had 95 families coming to see us each week. Well, now we have 170 to 190 families. And on this Halloween, when things got real bad, we had 214 families. So, and the families that we serve, some of them, like 30%, are people over 60, and then under 18, we have another 30%. So there is a lot of people at either end that are going hungry and need the help. Just watching it grow like it has, and we also serve a number of unhoused people. We usually have about it's really easy to eat if you are sleeping in the park.
Hopefully this is working. No? Okay, we'll just play musical.
Well, we'll play musical. Maybe it's me, guys. Maybe it's me. The only thing I would like to point out, I got to sit on a webinar yesterday, and one of the representatives was from Meals on Wheels. And they serve the senior population primarily, maybe housebound folks. And I was shocked to find out that they have a waiting list 4 to 6 months out for seniors. That just terrifies me. So I wanted to share that because I think that's a result of us coming through the pandemic and then just the resources not being there for families, and then the growth of the need. On a positive note, I will do a shout out for school nutrition because Universal Free Meals has cut down on that stigma. And we don't know who needs it, who doesn't need it. We feed everybody. So I think that's an amazing thing that came out of the pandemic, and I'd like to see more of that happening because we certainly have the need.
I can't tell. No, I'm just going to talk loud because I don't know if this is working. But I think oh, is it working? I can't tell. Okay, I think something really important to remember is that a lot of people are still recovering from the pandemic, and if you think about some families lost both incomes, some families lost their housing, so it's only been really, it might seem like a distant memory to some of us. My family was very fortunate. Both my husband and I are teachers. Neither of us lost our paychecks. We were doing fine, but a lot of our friends lost both of their incomes. Some of them lost their housing, and a lot of people are just still catching up. So a lot of people are really still reeling and really still struggling from the damage that was done during the pandemic.
Thank you so much. Before the last question, we'd like to invite ASB President Taylor Runn to read an anonymous letter written by a student on campus.
Thank you, Broncos. Wait, test. It's good? Thank you, Broncos, and thank you to our panel guests. I'm honored to receive the opportunity to represent the voice of those who are impacted by our student service project. Today, I'm reading an anonymous letter written by a student here at Vista Murrieta High School who's experienced food insecurity. Broncos, you may think that only certain types of people experience food insecurity, but it has no limits. I am a senior who is highly involved here at Vista Murrieta High School. I take AP classes and other advanced classes. I'm a leadership student and am involved in sports on campus while also participating in multiple forms of community service. This year's service project has touched me in a powerful way, and I wanted to give you some words from my heart as someone who's relied on projects such as this. When I was younger, my family underwent a big change that led to money being almost non-existent. From ages 6 to 10, my food came from places run from churches where we could go and get canned food and have it paid for by the members of the church. I had many siblings, and so food would run out quickly. As I grew up, we stopped going to this place because it became uncomfortable that people knew we needed assistance and ended up scraping by on fast food or anywhere that provided food for a few cents. I remember looking into the fridge, seeing nothing but a box of baking soda and a jar of hot sauce, and wishing I had food. I'd go without food for days, getting used to always being hungry. This made it hard to be happy and would impact my life outside of home. I would go over to friends' houses, go into their pantries, and take a granola bar or two, and that would get me through when I got home. I savored every ounce of food I got, and it made me appreciate hearty meals so much more. I never told anyone what was going on because I didn't want anyone to look at me as the kid who didn't have food. Through many blessings today, I'm in a better position, and I've come a long way. I would encourage all of you, when you have the opportunity to donate food, do it. I know it's hard to believe that people would actually eat the cans that have been sitting in your pantry, untouched for years, but trust me, there are so many people. Likely people around you here in your classrooms, on your sports team, or in your clubs here at Vista Murrieta, who need your donations. This isn't something that people often talk about because no one wants to be the person who relies on school meals or canned food drives for their nutrition. But these things are here for a reason, and it is so meaningful. People can find themselves experiencing food insecurity for a variety of reasons, such as loss of family members, job loss, medical bills, or even a shift in the economy. Whatever the case, it is very real. Please donate when you can and as much as you can. You can also find ways to serve food at local soup kitchens, help community pantries stock their inventory, and review expiration dates and package boxes for specific families. I encourage you to seek opportunities to help us combat food insecurity here in our local community. You're doing more than you know. Thank you. With gratitude, a proud Broncos senior.
Thank you to Taylor for reading that letter. So for our last question for the panel, it's going to kind of be like a 2-in-1. But for those who have lived with food insecurity, what support or outreach would have made it easier for you or your family to access food assistance programs? And additionally, looking ahead for the whole panel, what gives you guys hope?
So I think that I would say, I think the application processes, I just remember growing up, that being a real challenge, having to prove that you're poor enough to qualify. That was one of the biggest challenges that I remember growing up. I mean, my mom worked 3 jobs. There was a lot of us to feed, and maybe the application process kind of seemed daunting for somebody who already had that much going on.
A tough one for us was pride. my mom didn't want to admit that we needed, and that she was going to figure out and do it. To swallow your pride and ask for help sometimes is very difficult. I think that that's something that I still am affected to today. Sometimes I still don't want to ask for help because we were raised to not ask for help when you were in desperate need for help. We were. And I see that people are more comfortable and there's less stigma to being, again, whoever they are. But they were me. And we probably shouldn't have let our pride keep us from getting what we needed.
One of the things that you have to consider is that there's a lot of resources that people don't know about. And I think educating people about what those resources are, how to have access to them, parents who don't know what those resources that are available to them are, how to access them, how to apply for them. The resources are a quiet group. They don't speak out. They're not publicizing themselves. They're not putting out billboards and saying, hey, food pantry over here. So there's the education of where these resources are at, how to access these resources, how to apply for these resources, and then having the knowledge that this is something that's not permanent. It doesn't have to be for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be dependent on this, but I got to get to the next step. And I got to get to the next step. So the educational piece of teaching and learning, not just for the adults, because so many times children are on their own, especially in the high school age. You go home and your parents aren't there because they're at work and they're trying to provide your house and your car and your bills. So knowing where access is for the youth as well as the adults is a really, really important step in bridging that food insecurity.
One of the reasons that I got involved in the food bank that I did is there is no application. If you come and say you need food, we give you food with no questions asked, with nothing, because that's what people need. They need to not have to fill out forms, which becomes a barrier. Also, to me, what I've seen as hope is the generosity of our community. I spent 8 hours at the food bank yesterday just sorting food that came in yesterday that people had dropped off. And one lady asked me, can I drop this here? I'm not a member of this church. But I told her, of course you can. You're a member of this community, and anyone, no matter part of this community or not, is welcome to donate food. And the food goes out, comes in, and is out on Friday. And it allows us, I don't know, this is a really important topic to me, because I think people should be able to come get food without having any barriers to them, any additional barriers that sometimes food banks are required to, if you're take money from certain areas, you have to fill out forms. But we don't have this. The lady that started it 24 years ago and is 88 and still in charge said nobody is going to go away hungry. If they come, we feed them. And I think that allows hope. And that's all.
He doesn't like me, just in terms of hope. I think that we're talking about it, right? So obviously we're all here doing our part and talking about it and understanding that it's a community issue, not an individual's issue, I think is super important. And I also think that we're building a lot of networks and collaborations between, like, I donate to food pantries, for instance. I work with local farmers. So we're building those networks more today than we ever have. And then just nationally, we have 9 states in the United States now that offer universal free meals to kids. So that's growing. It grows every year. And so I think just the recognition and empathy is a hopeful thing.
I didn't get a chance to address the hope thing because I think it's important. I like to kind of stay off the radar, but I think what gives me the most hope is you guys and what you can do and your knowledge and your heart and your service to your community and your giving back. That's where my hope is. It lies within you and what you're going to do for this community as you grow up and you become members of this community and you raise your children to come to our schools. My hope is that you continue to see this as a very valuable and important opportunity to help others, because your best gift that you can give is to help others.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot to address the thing about hope too. I would say what gives me hope is one thing anyways is just walking around campus and seeing all the food that people are bringing in, and some of you are bringing in hundreds of items. One of my students saw a big bag of food the other day, and I was like, "Why do you have that?" And she was like, "Because I'm bringing it for the food drive," and that gives me hope.
Working? Yeah, there we go. The whole portion of it is when I hear that letter from a student that's on our campus and she can get something to eat at someone else's house, remember how you can help. You don't know if they've eaten or not. They may do a great job of camouflaging and hiding their situation. Open your hearts and your food at your house too. Can I get you something to eat? That was something that I was raised on, something I was raised with. Make sure you're giving at the levels that you can. Bring it onto campus, or if they're at your house, are you hungry? Can we fix you something? Do you need something? Because you never know if that's what they're going to get that day. Hope comes from you guys. It truly does.
Thank you, panel. We honor and value your input. Now, students, please refer to the QR code on your screen to access the form to complete your 1-hour community service credit. If you do not have access to the QR code, you may find the form in Bronco Life. Every single person with us in the room needs to go to Bronco Life. Reminder, students, that we are still accepting donations through Monday. And if you can, please bring a can.
Can we get the mics on? Okay, here. Do you want to use this one and then I'll take over? Ariana.
Thank you to all of our panelists here for taking your time today to share your stories with us. And then Broncos, we direct you back to the student leaders in your classrooms.